So I am I'm gonna go I'm gonna talk a little bit about football and this time of year and now that college is kind of gone. The matchups we have coming up. I'm gonna expand a little bit on my opinion with this playoffs and probably a bad thing because usually when I talk more about a game, um, I typically lose it. But then the NFL. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We're gonna go. I'm going to go back a few weeks and look at what our. I'm going to go back a few weeks to when we called out the Colts and bet against Arizona money line every week, and look at how we're going to close out the season and their records. Now there's a few teams out there that we could probably look at that to do again and probably find some value. And then there was a request out there for me to run through those numbers on how to make that crazy double up, don't lose two in a row run in these college bowls end of season. So I'll babble a little bit, but there's a handful of us on, which is cool. So I'll stop. We'll talk. I'm excited about it. Okay, so end of season, right? I mean, this is the NFL. I posted the records because I wanted to see where we were in the NFL, and the reality is the NFL has not been profitable. Live bets have been, but I've been pretty standoffish with the NFL, and I'm posting my circa plays, but I'm playing single units on all of them. When I post something outside of that, I typically go there. Last night, just because it was a call out, it was a system play that we had come up with a few weeks ago. There was some plus money there, but otherwise I wouldn't have touched it. That was just a system play. So that was really that. But so these college games coming up, at this point, all the cash is really off the table. This is I'm not the unit at this point is. If we go back to the last time that we had like a full college week, I'm probably up 3x over the unit size is 3x over that. And it's only because there's really only three. I have it right in front of me and I mapped out the games that I like. So on the 18th, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 18th is a full day. Let me see. The 18th, the 20th, there's a game, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, there's one game. Then we got 4 days off and we go to the 27th. Starting on the 27th, 27, 28, it's either 20, actually I think it's 28, 29, 30, 31, and first there's 5 straight days of like 5 or 6 games a day. So those days, it feels more like an NFL Sunday because there's only one game on for the time slot. Sometimes there's 2, but it's just not the same. What makes college so awesome is if the game that you're in sucks, there's 20 other games going on in that time slot and you can just get out of it, or you can just find value and jump into other things. There's no more weeks like that in college. So I'm trying to be very deliberate on the actual play up front. So the only games I'm going into with action before the game starts are games where I feel like the line is just dead wrong and I want to be on the other side of it. And about halfway through these games or a certain amount of time into these games, I'm switching to the other side. These are not games where, all right, Bama's pouring it on. Let's hit him again. Let's hit him again. Let's hit him again. I'm either right at the beginning of the game or I'm wrong and I'm switching to the other side wherever I can. There's not a lot of chase going on. Some of these games are 1 or 2 plays, unless there's going to be a couple of these games where we'll just feel it, and it's just going to be a ton of scoring. Like Baylor Ole Miss is going to be wild. Baylor Ole Miss, if there was less than 80 points on the board, I would be very surprised. So that one I'm going to go into up front with probably some play on the over. But for the most part, if we don't have it, we're switching to the other side. These teams don't need to cover the spreads. This is the last game of the year for them. So I'm taking cash out daily. So the bankroll management side of it. So let's just say there's one game on today. I'm playing it. I'm winning it. I'm taking half the profit out, just like that. Tomorrow, same deal. I'm playing it. I'm winning it. I'm taking half the profit out. If I lose it, I'll go right back to the same exact dollar amount that I played. And the amount of cash that I'm keeping in the Bovada account I'm not going to tell you guys my dollar amounts.
1 million.
But the amount of cash that I'm keeping in the Bovada account is enough to support losing 10 of what the unit size is right now. That's where I'm going. So essentially, yeah, that's about where it is. Just be prepared to lose 10 games, or at least have that amount. But you win the one game, you press, now you're up to that, and blah blah blah. You guys get it. So the playoff game. Actually, before I go playoff game, let's talk about what this run is, because you guys are going to stop me and have questions. So this is how it works. If you start with $100, call $100 your beginning bankroll. And I'm just going to run through it the way I have it mapped out. And sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's not. But you start with $100. You go into the first game, $20. You gotta hit the first. You got to hit the first 4. So that doesn't necessarily mean winning 4 in a row. That means if you're about to lose, you have to double up real quick and correct it so that you've moved yourself forward in bankroll. So the way it goes is $20 is your first play. That cashes, and this is all based off of a minus 110 payout. So $20, the return on the 20 is 37. You turn around, and half of that winnings goes into your bankroll. Half of that winnings, let's see. I think we throw 10 on it, so we go from laying down $20 to laying down 30. You hit that one, $50 return. Bankroll goes to 97, and now we're pressing. Now we're going up to 45. Cash 86, 117, and again, you have to force. You have to force the cash to the next dollar. So you might be digging back into the bankroll to propel this forward. It sounds easy, but and it really is. You just have to find the right play. That right play for you might not be the upfront spread. The right play for you might be it might be something you find in the game that's 6 minutes to go in the half. Okay, I'm not going to win this game bet, but boom, minus 2.5 on somebody to win the first half, and it pays plus 150. So you just have to find something. So on this $45 outlay, you have to find a way to return $86 on that game and up your bankroll from 97 to 117. Following game, 60, you're laying 60, so you're going from 45 to 60. Again, whatever you do, the outcome of this game means you're collecting $114. I don't care if you lay $5 down 8 different times. You could lay $5 down on an interception to be thrown the next play, as long as you return 114 for what you've done in that game. That ups your bankroll to 144. You go into the next game betting 87, and you're gonna lose it. And I have to map out losses. So again, you got to hit the first 4. However that works out. You lose that 87. Now you're digging into your bankroll. Now your bankroll is down to 74, but you're betting $70 on this very next game. So you're only going from your 87 down to 70. And I have this typed out on a sheet for everybody to see, because I realize I'm just throwing a bunch of numbers out there. You hit the 70. So you after a loss, what'd you say?
I said, thank God, I've been furiously taking notes.
Well, so you cannot come back when you have the loss. You have to, because there's going to be that game where you just can't find the way to move it, and this is there is some dice rolling and gambling that goes on in this. Again, at this point in the season, I don't care. I've done everything that I need to do to call this a successful season. So I'm at this point I'm taking risk, because this is all that we have left in college. I posted what the record is for what we've done in college football this year, and those are the baseline picks. So we found a lot of live winners. So either way, so you go to the 70, you cash it. 70 returns 133. At this point, your bankroll's back to 108, which is where it started. And you've pressed your bet up to 105. So again, the winnings come in. Half of it goes to the bankroll, half of it goes to press. Now we lay 105, we return 200. Bankroll goes to 263. The bet is 150, and we lose it. The bet is 150. We lose it. Now we come back to 110, and it just keeps going on and on and on. You come back from the loss, you have to cash twice. Then you could lose again, and then you have to cash twice coming off a loss. And so the first four are the ones. If you don't get that, it's not going to progress. You have to protect it somehow. So if you feel like $100 is not the right, you could put 200 in, just knowing that you're going to start with 20 and keep pressing. That'll change the math. But when you get to say 15 games, I'm sorry, when you get to 16, at 16 games, your bankroll should be 813, and you have $900 on game 17. That's the way this thing should work. Week 14 is a loss. And on week 14 is a $600 loss. Then you're laying 570 to return 1083 with a 383 bankroll. And it just keeps going. There is not, I drew this thing out I think I drew it out to 30 games. We don't have 30 games. There's not 30 games that I intend to invest in through the college season. But if it were to work itself forward with all the math, game 30 should be $11,000. I'm sorry, game 30 should be $6,000 on the game, returning 11.4 to bring the bankroll to 9,400. And that's just simply following. You have to win 2 in a row, an occasional 3 in a row. You can't lose 2 in a row. You can never lose 2 in a row. And you just have to come right back. When we start to get into the higher numbers, when I say higher numbers, like after game 10, game 11 I have as a loss. When you come back from game 11, there's 350 to return 655. Then it goes to 450 to return 855. Then there's the 600, which loses and brings us back to laying 570 and a 0 bankroll. So there's some stuff where you lose and then come back and the entire bankroll goes in it. And this is very contradictory to what I've preached all season long. But I'm throwing this out there. This is what I do with the college bowls, and I do it every year because I'm just trying to maximize profit on a lot of these, 1 and 2 game days. If you are not a winner this season, if you are not in a place where this is a comfortable place to win and then double, win, then double, win, then pull, don't do it. Just do you. I mean, and please, you don't have to take my picks either. I'm just laying it out there, and I do this every single year with college bowls. And I expect the bowls. I expect the record to be somewhere between 70 and 80%. I don't expect to be anything lower than 70% picking against the spread in all these bowl games. I just don't. We've seen all these teams play. This is a hard season for bowls. The hardest part of this season is this is just the Wild West with all these coaching changes. And with the coaching changes, some of these players have announced that they're going into portals and transferring. And so it's wild. Like I think USC, thank God they're not in a bowl, because how the hell do you handicap that game? He's already announced he's going to let 10 players on the starting lineup go. I mean, how do you take Oregon in a bowl game? Oregon's coach just up and left. I actually think Notre Dame is going to be very dangerous in the bowl game. Oklahoma State losing their D coordinator. Well, their offense pretty much sucks. So that becomes a hard one to me. LSU hates Brian Kelly. Like, these players do not like him. This is going to be the biggest bust in the history of coaching hires. LSU is going to be terrible next year. If they're above 500, I'll be surprised, and they're going to be a favorite in a lot of the games to start with. But they've lost that entire locker room through this move. LSU is going to be really bad for the next 5 years until they realize that they just made a terrible mistake. I just have strong feelings about that one. So
I love hearing that. As an Arkansas fan, I love hearing that.
well,
Music to my ears.
I think the guy, it feels like the locker room has read right through him. The quarterback almost instantly went into the transfer portal. I mean, almost instantly. And I don't blame him. If you look at the history at Notre Dame, he does not have a history of developing quarterbacks. So and the SEC has changed. The SEC is not ground and pound strong defense. The SEC has turned into this wild air raid, score as many points as you can, and especially with Mississippi State and their style of play and Ole Miss. So I think nothing of LSU. That's going to be a big opportunity for us. I don't even know. Does anybody know who they're playing in their bowl? Yeah, it doesn't matter. But some of these bowl games are hard to pick. Like there's rumors with Ohio State, and it will break my heart. But there's rumors with Ohio State and Ryan Day going to the Chicago Bears.
They're playing K-State.
LSU is?
Yeah.
So they're an automatic no touch because I will never invest in K-State, but that's a perfect game.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's a perfect game to take K-State. It would be the most K-State thing to just smoke LSU. But all right, so college. I mean, I'll just touch on the team up north and why I think this with the whole Georgia. Like, if you look at Georgia, the Bama thing, I didn't think it was hard to see that coming. Bama had a real tough game against Auburn that they didn't show up for. And then you just turn around. Georgia hasn't been challenged all season long. I am sorry, Colin, but playing against Arkansas is not the same challenge as playing against the University of Alabama or even the team up north. It's just not the same challenge.
I totally understand. I'm with you there. This year, at least.
Yeah, and so if you pull Georgia's schedule, I'm not calling them overrated. That's not what I'm doing at all. I just don't. I think that they're outmatched. I think that they're completely outmatched. They played Clemson, who proved to be a really bad team. They smoked UAB. They smoked South Carolina. They smoked Vanderbilt, which I think that the five of us on this call could get out there and put on a helmet and smoke Vanderbilt. Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky, I would call that a solid win. Florida, who eventually fired their coach. Mizzou's a walk in the park. Charleston, Georgia Tech. So they smoked everybody. They have a historically great defense, but they didn't exactly play an offense that's going to challenge them. I don't think that they're going to find the challenge in the Wolverines, but the challenge that they're going to have is scoring points. The Georgia offense is going to really struggle. Look at what the Wolverines just did against Ohio State, and it has nothing to do with me being a fan. That is a historically great offense that had 3 1,000-yard receivers and a Heisman candidate, which CJ probably would have won the trophy had Bama not smoked Georgia in the fashion that they did. So they shut them down, completely shut them down. I think Georgia's going to struggle to score points. And I think that Michigan's probably going to take the ball away from them a couple times. So that's why the 7 is, you forget about that. So I think Elliot was the one that asked the question. So how much am I up to? Well, the reality is I'm up to 4.7 units on the money line. When game day comes, I'm going to put a unit on the other side, and I'm going to put a unit on the other side, and that way I get some type of protection. But I don't really feel like I've put a ton on it because it's just like a future bet to me. When I win something, you pay a 10% tax. You pay another 10% tax. I don't, we all invest in the stock market. I don't want to wait 3 months on these future bets to get my cash back. So when I feel confident in a future bet, I just go 10%. Or 10%, 20%, and I do that until I get to a place. I did that on Florida State for a while. Then I realized that I was just wasting money, and I stopped. There was a point up until about 2 weeks into the NFL season where I was doing that with Jacksonville to win the Super Bowl, and but I don't even know the money's gone. If somehow Jacksonville was able to go to the Super Bowl, it would have been one of those crazy 6-figure tickets that I'd be looking to sell on Super Bowl Sunday. So I don't even feel it at this point. And if you're taking cash outs along the way, you could do some odd stuff like that. So does anybody have anything before I go to the NFL? Is this Taco on Sportsbook? This is one of the most exciting lives I've ever had on Taco Tuesday, nonetheless. Maybe it's just a logo. He said, "Wifey sleep, can't use the mic." That is great. Well, happy Taco Tuesday. This is a happy Taco Tuesday for me. All right, let's go NFL. So a few weeks ago, and these were the records when we called it out. Indy was 3-5, and we called out that Indy was probably a playoff team, but in order to get there, they were going to have to go from that point on. They were going to have to go. We thought that the record was going to be 10-7 for the season, which meant they had to go 8-1 or 7-2. So since then, Indy, God, I can't read my own notes. Let's look at this. So since then, looking at it now, Indy is now 7-6. So Indy's gone 4-1 since we called that out. In order to get into the playoffs and go 10-7, that means that they're still going to go 3-1 on these next 4 games. So let's look at where we're going to go with Indy. Well, they're going to play New England. They're going to be a dog. So they got a bye week, and then they get New England at home. They go on the road at Zona. So they're going to be a dog there too. Then they get the Raiders. Then they get the Jaguars. So Raiders and Jaguars are not going to pay very well, but they're probably going to beat them. Actually, the Jags, that's an odd spot there. But Patriots and Cardinals, there's still value. And so we've gone from 3-5 on Indy to 7-6. So we've cashed 4 times. Doesn't even matter that a couple of those were minus 250. We still cashed a ticket. So I still like Indy to go 11-6 or 10-7. So they're either winning. They're either winning the next 4 games, or they're winning 3 out of the next 4. So the play remains Indy money line every single game. Forget about the points. Just Indy money line. And actually, this New England game, this is odd. This is actually where it stands right now. This is calling Indy Indy's a minus 140 in that game, which is odd. I wouldn't have expected that. But okay, then let's go to Arizona, because Arizona was another one that we called out, and then the Chiefs were another one. I'll just run down the list at the ones that make the most sense. So the Chiefs were 4-4. When we were talking about this, they were 4-4, and in order to get to the playoffs, and keep in mind, the Chiefs at 4-4, this was the really bad defense, Mahomes throwing interceptions, like really bad Chiefs. Which what a difference a couple weeks has made. But they are now 9-4. They've gone 5-0 since the call out. We were looking for them to go 10-7 or 8-8, which means they would have gone 6-3 or 5-4. So they've gone 5-0 since. So to support the decision we made back then, the Chiefs are going to go 1-3 to close out the season, or they're going to go 0-4 to close out the season. Which now let's look at who they're playing. So the Chiefs are going to play. They get the Chargers on Thursday night. That's a no touch because it's Thursday night. There's not going to be any value. The Chiefs are minus 170. Then they get Pittsburgh at home the day after Christmas. I believe that's going to be a tougher game. Pittsburgh comes into Arrowhead and plays very well against the Chiefs. I've been to the last 2 games that the Steelers come into Arrowhead. The Steelers fans completely neutralize the home field advantage and the noise of Arrowhead, like no other fan base. Then they go at Cincinnati, then they go at Denver. So at this point, I'm just going to call it. Let's sell this Chiefs. Let's just be done with it. We went 5-0 on the Chiefs money line. There's absolutely no reason to continue with it because I can see them losing. I can see them losing 3 out of the next 4. So they probably only need 2 more wins out of the next 4. So there's no reason to play Chiefs money line. Value is gone. The call out worked. The other one we looked at was, let's go Zona. So Zona was 7-1 when we called them out, and the thought on Zona was they were going to probably be the Rams and Zona were both the same. The thought on them was they were probably going to be, and I didn't follow up on the Rams. It was Zona and the Colts that we walked away from that call to move on. Philly was the other one. that we were going with. But the thought on the Rams and Zona, they were both 7-1, and so they were going to go 6-3. They were going to be 13-4 teams. So if you look at both of them now, we got 10-3 on Arizona, so they've lost 2. We thought they were going to go 6-3. They've lost 2 of them. We were betting against them, and then so let's see. So they lost 3 of the games out of the last 6, and they've cashed for us, and they've been plus money every single time. We're going to look at how they close out the season. So with Zona, they got the Lions. We're, just systematically, I'm going to stay with it because that particular bucket has produced the wins to support the next one. And who knows, if Detroit wins, it's a plus 550. So, we took the plus 220, we took the plus 170, the plus 220. So I didn't come this far to walk away from it. So there's value on Detroit. I don't know that Zona is going to lose, but why not? Any given Sunday. Then they got the Colts, which that's an odd one. Who knows which side we go on. That one I'm probably going to take the Colts. That's on Christmas Day. And the Colts are going to need it more at that point. Then Zona goes to Dallas. Dallas is going to need it more. Then Zona's got a division game that they probably will not be playing starters, and they got Seattle. So I'm staying with this Zona play, and I'm staying with it for 2 reasons. One, I can see their last 2 games of the season not mattering. I could see the third to last game against the Colts, where the Colts will need the game, and Zona is probably still going to be the favorite. They're probably still going to be the favorite in all of these games. The only one that's truly at risk, but the plus 550, is certainly a value, is next week against the Lions. So Arizona being at 10-3, I'm still going to bet against them. If they lose 2 more games out of the next 4 when they're dogs, or I'm sorry, when they're favorites, plus 550 and plus 220, it's worth it to me. Plus, we've already funded it by what's happened. So I think the Colts money line, Zona money line, still in play. I think we walk away from the Chiefs. There's no more value in playing Chiefs money line. And then Philadelphia was the other one that we had walked away thinking that there's probably some value in money line. Philly is still alive in the playoffs, and to get to the playoffs, they have to go 10-7. This is where it's interesting. So to get to the playoffs, I believe they need to go 10-7 because the Dallas is going to take that division. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to make that crashing noise. But if we look at the next 4 games, they got Washington, the Giants, Washington, Cowboys. So those are all division games. And so it looks like I just answered my own question because I won't lay money on those games unless it's some odd systematic play. So Philly's out. And I think Minnesota was the other. Minnesota was another one. But that's where we're at on these plays. Does anybody have any questions about that? I just said a lot of things, went on one of my signature rants.
I just want to make sure I heard you say against Zona money line, right?
That's been the play for the last 6 weeks, and we've gone 3-3.
That's what I've been playing. I'm just like, I was like,
yeah.
I want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yeah, and if you've been in on it since we called it out 6 weeks ago, just blindly when you open up your Bovada, just you going into this weekend, you just blindly bet against them.
Yeah.
And it's I believe it was plus 250, plus 240, and last night was plus 140. So it's the 3 wins has realistically paid as if we won 7 or 8 wins. So 3-3 feels like 8-3.
Yeah.
So
great.
and so as wild as it sounds that they would lose to Detroit, and why would we do it? Why on earth would we not do it? It's already paid for. So if you're betting $100 on these games or $10 on these games to return $55 or $550 on that unit, it's just too good not to. And again, those last 2 games of the season, they're going to be in a position where they don't matter. So yes, we're betting against Zona, and we are betting with Indy money line to close out the season. And actually that lines up. right? We're taking Indy against Zona. And we're going to find some plus money
Yep.
doing it.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
So the other one, I'm just gonna. The other day, I was throwing out random NHL stuff, and I used the word system play, and I realize you guys are all intelligent people, but I'm just gonna expand on what that means. So, we have our units and our bankroll management. When I say system play, this is when you find a pattern that just simply makes sense and it came from a system that you just, if this and this and this are happening, I automatically bet this. That's just a system play. It's not any form of a deep dive breakdown or anything like that. So what I had figured out, and there was only one NHL game yesterday, so that's why I didn't post any NHL action today. I'm actually watching Toronto and Edmonton because I thought that the over of 6.5 was too much. We're getting close to the end of the first, and at this point, I'm probably ready to lay some action, which I'll hit you guys with here in a minute. But so what I had found was when you have a team playing in back-to-back nights, and they're switching the goalie for the second night. Even better when they're switching the goalie into a backup or a third string, and they're on the road. You just simply bet against them. I don't care if it's Colorado, who at this point is the best team in hockey. The Rangers are really good. So 2 nights in a row. So when you're looking at hockey, look at the teams that are playing tonight. Look at who's playing tomorrow, and then find the teams that are playing 2 nights in a row, and then just look and see if there's a goalie switch. Where I check for the goalies, because a lot of times you're, well, how the hell do you do that? And you turn on the game and you're like, oh shit, I didn't know who was starting. There's a page. I just Google it, starting NHL goalies tonight, and the page is cool. It'll show you the helmets of all the teams, and it shows you the names of the goalies that are projected starters, and then it'll show you a green check mark if it's confirmed, and it'll show you if it's unconfirmed, and it's pretty reliable. They don't just throw out bogus information. So you can see who the starting goalies are, and if it's confirmed that they're switching into a backup goalie, just bet against them and just do it with the money line. And in some cases, like, I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong about that Detroit call out, but I would make that call 100% of the time. Nobody expected the third goalie for St. Louis to be a complete stud in that particular night. But, St. Louis got what they deserved the very next night. We smoked them, and Colorado made them pay and made them pay all of us. But it was a system play. And so far, over the past week, I want to say it's hit 6 out of 9 times. So, I don't think that, I don't know what Vegas does and doesn't adjust to. I don't know that they're as much a degenerates as I am when it comes to looking through these numbers and looking at the system of the road game and stuff like that. But that's what I'm looking at in the NHL and NHL. These are full unit plays. They're full unit plays. And again, the way I'm handling things now is I win. I take half the cash out, half the cash just stays in the account. And I'll probably go a couple days with these NHL plays and cash. And I'm using 2 different accounts right now. I mean, I have a football account and I have an NHL account. The NHL, I'll let it ride and stay with the Money Monday. With football, because of how we're pressing so aggressively, I'm literally taking cash out every day, or as often as it'll allow me to. Bovada, I think if you have to go Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin in order for it to let you do it more often than every 3 days. It'll tell you you can only cash out once per 3 days on Bitcoin, but if you change your coin, it'll let you do it again. I messed up last week and I got a live check in the mail, which is the shadiest transaction ever. These checks, they send them from like Imperial Bank of Singapore, and there's these foreign letters on it. And you can't deposit it mobile. You have to physically walk into a bank, at which time they look at you like a fool, and they put a hold on it for 10 days. And it's just, I was a moron. I accidentally have a live check coming. But either way, that's what I'm doing. I'm cashing out football almost every day because I don't want to let it get out of control. And that's really the name of this game. I mean, Taco's on this call. He'll tell you how to manage your stocks and when to get in, when to get out. And, God, Chris has been awesome with timing these stocks too. But you got to manage yourself with the bankroll and these games. The adrenaline when you're winning, when you win 3 or 4 games in a row, or even in one game. When we cash 5 times on one game, to not go in for that 6th time, oh my God, that's the hardest thing to do. And it's usually like when do you call the top? Calling the top on these sports bets is very difficult to do. And when you're having a bad week, calling the bottom and when it's going to bounce is even more difficult. So that's kind of where I'm at. I am going to. It just kicked me out, but I was going to tell you what the play is for this NHL game. What do you guys got for me? It's the first time we've had all of you guys together and nobody has anything.
I think you've covered it all, bro.
All right. Well, as long as everybody's cashing tickets. All right. So Toronto and Edmonton is down to 5.5. I like that number. It's hard to call a winner on this game. What I am going to do, so Toronto and Edmonton, I'm looking for this to go. I want it to drop to 4.5. So I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to milk it a little bit. I'm going to wait until we get probably 3 or 4 minutes in to this second period. And I'm looking for 4.5, and I'm going to go over the 4.5. Right now, Edmonton is plus money on the 2.5. So I'm also looking at that too. Edmonton has not been scoring, and Toronto typically doesn't allow goals. So 4.5 over is the number I'm looking for. And again, Edmonton, if this goes to 135, 140, that's probably worth a unit. Even though they haven't been scoring, they're coming off a couple days off. And God, last year, the amount of times that Edmonton cashed for us, Edmonton at plus money over 2.5, that just feels like a gift, depending on how this game goes. But that's my play. And I think that's all I got. If you guys need anything, let me know. After Friday, I don't go back to work until the 3rd of the year. So every single one of the 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, I will be in front of TVs or screens for all of this stuff. I'm going to be glued to football and everything else. So I'm just going to be a drunken idiot day drinking almost every day with my time off.
Let's go to 135.
You plan on getting some live bets in on that?
On what? Throughout the week.
You're drunken day drinking football days.
Oh yeah, I will, and I'll post if I try not to be reckless. Don't get me wrong, I am not perfect. I fuck up just as much as I'm right. I really do. But I try not to be reckless and throw too much out to you guys because there's a lot of bad plays out there, and when I get myself into trouble and I dig myself right out of it and come ahead of it, I don't I don't need the world to know what I just did because of the mistake that I had made to get myself above water for the week. This is far more than a hobby, but I will post the ones that I feel are winners and you guys should be a part of, and they're locks or can't miss. I just try not to post reckless stuff. I don't like to post 4-way parlays because I don't touch them. That when Chris posted what that friend did last night, I hope that every single one of you cringed when you saw a 50-unit play. That my first thought was, for the love of God, I hope Chris is not this person that did that. Did he get drunk in Baltimore and take some bad advice?
Hey, dude. Hey, let's be honest with Chris. He doesn't drink, and he doesn't watch sports. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't him when he posted it. That was my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. No, I will not be betting on sports until I have like a 5-hour personal lesson from somebody on this call.
Well, it's this week the sports are doing a hell of a lot better than the S&P 500. That's for sure. depending on what side you're on. But all right, guys, that's all I got. You guys know how to get a hold of me.